Everything Klingon, from Batless to Kahless to Stovelcore, right here on Trekcast, the Klingon podcast.
I'm trying to figure out, like, it just keeps cycling through each of your pictures. I can't get the split screen where I can see all you guys. It just keeps cycling through.
I bet it's just because you're using the app, right? You're on your phone.
Yeah.
I bet that's just when there's more than so many people, it just does that.
Well,
yeah,
that
it's only going to show you who's actively talking. Yeah.
So,
yeah, like it just went to Chad and then he stopped talking. So now I don't even have Daniel. I have
my camera's on.
Yeah,
I can see everybody.
I have your Olin Mills headshot. That's it.
Man, it's gonna be one of those shows.
Yeah, they're all one of those shows.
They're all one of those shows.
We've got no audio effects. We've got no lead in, lead outs. We've got nothing. All we got is just this. That's it. So.
Well, who wants to kick us off? Who wants to?
We could do it Dwight Schrute style. We'll just go talking about Star Trek and this week's topic.
There it is.
All right,
there's our intro. The most unpredictable Star
sound
Trek
effects
podcast.
unplugged.
Yep. Yeah, sound effects unplugged. Yeah.
Yeah, the Trekcast unplugged.
Yep. So.
Let me go get my guitar.
Oh my lord. That's a whole new calendar for us there.
Chad trying to do the intro right there, and we just stomped all over him.
That's okay. That's how it is. It feels like the first time.
Every time.
Here we go.
Yeah. So, as you can see, there's a lot of people with us. We've got Gentry and Matthew.
Yeah.
And they are, they listen to the show. And so we're having a Picard roundtable today, where we're going to talk about all things Picard and get some expectations and predictions and stuff like that. So.
Well, you know what? I mean, the first few episodes we did, we introduced ourselves to the listeners. So why don't you guys each take a minute and just tell us a little bit about yourselves, who you are, where you're from.
Now, how'd you become Star Trek fans?
Yeah, your connection to Star Trek, and your connection to the show.
Case, you go first. That way we know who's going first.
Hi, okay. I'm Gentry. I'm in Tennessee. I started watching Star Trek probably about 1975, 76, something like that, and watched reruns of the original TOS. And then when the idea of a movie came out, the very first Star Trek movie, it was like, holy shit, this is gonna live.
Yeah.
I bet.
Then every single time there was a Star Trek movie, and it will always be, every time there's a Star Trek movie coming out, I will be sitting in the very middle of the entire theater, directly face onto that screen. I will have my popcorn, my drink. I will be ready there on opening day every time. I've watched every series. I have not watched, and actually you guys are the responsible for this. I have not watched the animated series. If Dan if he couldn't even get through the first season, I'm like, okay, there are better things to do with my time. So
yeah, you're not missing anything. You're fine.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, I've been to one convention a very long time ago. I love the idea of maybe going to another sometime soon, especially when in Vegas would be like amazing.
Yeah.
That would be that. I'd geek out. Although the whole concept, because around here they apparently do Renaissance fairs and stuff like that. The whole idea of walking around in Star Trek uniforms at the Renaissance fair pretending to be time travelers.
That's a thing.
That's very appealing to me.
That's a thing, yeah. I hear about people doing that all the time.
Yeah, I think that'd be hysterical.
That would be great. We'd have to get video of that.
I'm kind of raised on Next Generation, so I'm totally into that, but I'm also loyal to every one of the shows, so I don't pick one over the other.
So follow-up question.
Sure.
2 follow-up questions. Do you have a uniform? And if so, which one?
I don't.
Oh,
What?
that's okay.
What?
I don't. Well, first thing.
Get him out of here.
I'm 6'5", so and I weigh about 320, so I'm a big guy. Now I'm sure somebody will custom make one, and if I do go to a convention, I'm probably gonna have to get one.
Yeah.
Which one did you get?
Well, there's the gauntlet. I mean, the three of us are going to be at STLV this year. Well, I'm going to be at STLV no matter what. I assume the other two guys will be there no matter what as well. So I didn't want to speak for them, but we've talked about it several times for like, I don't know, 3 years now, it seems. But yeah.
I'm trying to convince them into tuxedo T-shirts.
Yeah, no. I am not the biggest cosplayer, as in I've never done it. So don't feel bad. You don't have a uniform. I don't have one either. So we'll have to change that. All right, Matthew.
What about you, Matt?
Hey, I'm Matthew. I have been a Star Trek fan since I was about 6 years old. Well, I was forced to watch Star Trek when I was about 6 years old, which is it's really funny because my parents are not Trek fans, really. They would call themselves that probably. We love Star Trek, but they don't. I can't imagine why they do. They're like more like whatever NCIS and Castle.
Did they call it Star Trek?
Probably. So they're just not. They're not geeks at all. But for some reason, when I was a kid, they watched it every week, and so I just fell in love with like Data and Geordi. Loving that TNG. So forced to watch it for a few weeks, and then finally I was like, oh no, we have to watch it now. And then through DS9. DS9's my favorite. And I fell real hard into DS9, and then followed it ever since, and still watching everything now, and loving it. I have been to some kind of geek conventions, nothing Star Trek specific. And as for uniform, you guys are gonna hate me for this, but I only have one, and it's Discovery.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay, that's respectable.
Yeah, those are nice.
I'm out.
I know.
And Dan left. Hope you're watching the video episode.
Here's Dan's impersonation of the minute someone starts talking about Discovery. He does this. Dang it. I'm looking for the last time I cared.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost you, Matthew. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, sorry. I must explain my logic behind getting that particular uniform. So I was 500 pounds a couple years ago, and I've been losing weight fairly fast. Oh, wow. And I've lost about 150 pounds.
Awesome.
And
wow, good for you.
And so I wanted to buy a goal uniform, but I didn't want to buy my favorite because I'm hopefully not going to stay there long.
Yeah.
So I bought one that I'll wear this once or twice and then be done with it. And so I was like, Discovery. That seems like the one to get.
So it's the one you're wearing on the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the goal uniform?
I didn't want to buy one and be like, I can't lose more weight. I have, the TNG look or the DS9 look or whatever.
Right on.
He means the gold is in like Pike's new uniform, right?
No, I said gold. What's the goal uniform?
Man, as of now, DS9.
DS9, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the gray tops, the later DS9 with the gray tops.
My favorite era of Trek now.
Yeah, I like those ones.
Yeah. Yep, those are good.
Oh, what I'm doing with Star Trek, and actually one of the reasons I asked to come on is I'm a musician by trade. My living is musician, make music. And Picard got me so excited. I'm writing a double album about Star Trek and about Picard specifically. So I'm writing a full-length album about Picard episodes up till now, and then a full-length album that I'm going to try to write as Picard comes out every week. I'm going to try to write a song about every episode of Picard.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
That is ambitious. Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I reached out. I wanted to come on and let your fan base know that that's going on. I'm trying to find as many Star Trek fans out there as I can, see if anybody wants to hear this thing. So
really I love the first song already. The first song is great. I wish I could just sit here and play it right now, and I had it all figured out and on my Mac, but it died, so whatever. But it's fantastic. We'll put it in post somehow.
Yeah, we'll throw it in.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, right on. Cool. Well, should we get to the news?
Yeah. Let's go straight into the news.
Anybody's gonna do the sound effect? There
It's
you go.
time for Star Trek news.
Oh man, I love the unplugged sound effects. Right, our first news story comes to us from trekmovie.com, and the headline reads, LA to London, fans react to Star Trek Picard premieres. So this week has been the week for premieres, last couple weeks.
Yeah.
The first one was on the 13th at the ArcLight in LA. A lot of people got to go to that. Patrick Stewart was there, Jerry Ryan, Brent Spiner, anyone who's anyone on this show was there. Even Gates McFadden showed up, which was kind of cool.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
As did LeVar Burton.
Yeah, that starts the whole controversy over whether or not she's going to be in it or not, you know.
Oh, we'll get there.
That means Picard.
Yeah. So
did you guys see the Conehead picture?
Which one?
The Conehead picture?
No.
One of the press pictures, they were standing in front of the backdrop that said Picard, and Patrick Stewart just happened to be standing in just the right position that the A in Picard, which looks like, you know, it's the Starfleet Delta, it was lined up with his head, and if you looked at it the wrong way.
That's pretty good.
That's the crossover I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now a lot of these fans are under embargo. They can't give reviews of the show.
No.
They can only kind of give first impressions. So what everybody is saying basically is that the pilot is very good. It's very story driven, so there's a lot that they throw at you, but it's really good. When asked to rank it among the other Star Trek pilots, it's ranked middle to high by everybody, it seems like.
That's good.
And yeah. One guy said it was his favorite. Another guy said that TOS was his favorite, and then this one. So looks like people are very excited for it. Overall, the fan reaction has been very positive. So that's pretty cool.
I watched on Twitter the Trekkie girls talk about the premiere over there in London. They got to see the first 3 episodes.
Oh wow!
In London.
Okay.
Oh.
Not just the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting to kind of hear what their thoughts were on it. I
do
find it funny.
Already.
Yeah, it would feel like it, wouldn't it? But I mean, 3 hours in the theater, probably 2 hours and 40 some odd minutes,
240,
probably.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but the interesting thing though, when someone says, "Well, I rate it better than other season premieres," I mean, it damn well better be better than Encounter at Farpoint. I mean, holy crap!
That's not a very high bar.
No, that's not a high bar at all.
Yeah.
If Picard's first season's better than TNG's first season, then that's because someone actually woke up. I mean, I love TNG, man, but geez, that first season's rough.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Our next news story comes from Deadline.com, and Noah Hawley gives an update on Star Trek Universe. So basically, Noah Hawley, the new Star Trek director, at least for now. We'll see how long he's at the helm.
For now.
They keep turning him out, so whatever. He's just finishing up with Fargo season 4. He's gonna go out and promote that soon, and then once that's done, he's hoping to start hot and heavy with Star Trek. He has said that he wants to, quote, have my own take on Star Trek. So a lot of people are thinking this might mean another reboot.
That's a little concerning.
Yeah. So we'll see. He also says that he loved The Next Generation. So other people have also said, oh, this means he's going to reboot Next Gen, which is dumb if you've got Picard going. So I really don't think that's the case.
Just because we had a Kelvin timeline of TOS, essentially, with Chris Pine and all that, doesn't mean we need a Kelvin timeline of TNG. Matt, you had something to say about it? Go ahead.
There was a time when Star Trek TNG seemed crazy to make because it was like they were like, you can't recreate the original series, and then they made TNG and it became this iconic thing. And ever since, they've been too scared to make something original that takes that Trek into the future. And ever since, I guess DS9 and Voyager weren't successful enough for them, so they just keep going back. And I just want them to go into the future and make something new with new characters, a new setting, exploring or whatever, doing something new and start.
Well, hopefully that's what we get with season 3 of Discovery. I mean, I'm not holding my breath, obviously, but do I?
They're unshackled from canon.
Oh God!
There it is.
Every time you say that, I die a little bit inside.
Yeah. You must be dying an awful lot. Go ahead, Matt. We can't hear you.
Jumping forward like that in Discovery, in a way they're unshackled from canon, but in a way they're like, if they're calling themselves in the prime timeline still, they're like kind of setting waypoints for us where they're locking canon forever.
Yes.
Which is kind of disturbing. It's like this show that we don't trust as much as we trust a lot of other shows are jumping so far in the future, and they're like, this is what will happen so far. You know, it's scary to me what they're doing.
Yeah, but you got 1,000 years. I mean, you got 930 to be exact. You got so much time. I mean, a lot can happen in 10 years. A lot can happen in a couple of years. Look at the Dominion War, you know.
Yeah, but this is
the actually
problem.
A lot can happen in like 30 seconds, like the Klingon War. Anyway, go ahead.
This is the same thing that happened with Star Wars. Okay, they went back and they did the prequel trilogy, and you're watching Anakin Skywalker. And it's like, wow, he won the pod race. Good for him. But in the back of your mind, you know that he is destined to slaughter thousands of people and be a horrible person. So every victory you watch him have is a hollow victory. And, you know, I agree with what he's saying that, you know, you put the show 1,000 years in the future and you're locking things in.
Yep.
You're locking things in.
Matt's got more.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Have you guys heard? I've heard the talk about who the Vidraish are in Calypso. Y'all know the short trek Calypso?
Yep.
One of the producers confirmed that the Vidraish, who are the antagonist in that episode, are the Federation.
Oh my God.
Producers, it's the Vidraish at that timeline, somewhere deep in the future. Is a bastardization of the word Federation.
Yeah.
In the future. So somehow, like, they're locking the Federation not only into not existing, but now Discovery is saying they have this like sort of secret cabal. It looks like in the trailers. I don't know. Anyway,
it's every fan fiction ever.
Well, yeah, there's that. They're making the Federation out to be the bad guys in Discovery, if that's the case. Then the same thing is happening really with Picard, with all the trailers we've seen so far. I mean, it's like there's some bad crap going on in the Federation right then and there too. So
it's all those evil admirals. They finally got their way.
Well, it's those. What was that episode where the parasites?
The worm.
The worm things infiltrate the Federation at the highest level, and they have to blow one of their heads off or something. Yeah. You know, the admiral who can roundhouse kick the card.
Conspiracy
across the room. Yeah, conspiracy. Yeah. That's what it was. You know, maybe that's conspiracy part due for Picard. Maybe, who knows?
Part deuce.
In his interview, Patrick Stewart, I just heard one. I think it was done right after the premiere. He said that the Federation is not what we're used to, and Starfleet is not what we're used to. So something's happened. Something's going on.
Yeah, and even Jerry Ryan has said that her character, 7 of 9, is not exactly a fan of Picard. She's beef
like a
with
freedom
him.
Fighter.
Yeah, with Hugh. Hugh and her in some sort of freedom fighter coalition or something. Yeah. I forget what they called it, but
this is basically the roundtable already. Like
it is.
Yeah, I know. Are we still in news? What are we doing here?
I don't know.
Go to the next news clip. Go to the next news clip.
All right, I got one last news story. It comes from hitconsistent.net, and it is a Star Trek inspired bed for X-ray medical imaging raises $26 million.
Hot damn.
Yeah. So an Israeli company is basically creating the BioBed. It's a bed that you can lie in, and it's got an X-ray machine on it, and it's a lot less daunting as a regular X-ray machine. It just looks like a loop around the bed, and they say that it can get an X-ray from any angle necessary, and it's kind of cool. They've raised $55 million for this thing. They're calling it the Nanos Project, and one of the big investors behind it is Foxconn. So this might be in a hospital near you soon.
Or an Apple iPhone plant. Go ahead, Matt. You had something you wanted to say?
Who did?
Matt did, but I can't hear him.
Matt, go for it, Matt. Oh, we lost him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
now we can.
Now we can.
Hold on. I thought I was making a joke, but now the timing's all gone. Sorry.
That's all right. That's how we roll. Go ahead with it.
Yeah. I was just saying that I thought Fitbits already did all that, is what I said, but
Yeah.
joke was completely lost because it was 3 minutes ago. Sorry.
Well, Daniel, you said it's owned by Foxconn, so now it's kind of owned by Disney, right?
What? I didn't hear you.
I said it's owned by Fox. I said it's owned by Foxconn, so now it's owned by Disney.
That's right.
That was my joke with terrible timing. Chad, now you make a joke with terrible timing. Let's just go around the room.
No, I don't have a joke other than to say that Foxconn's plants would definitely need these things in order to keep their workers in tip-top shape to get them back in there to make more iPhones. But no, this is one of the things that sets Star Trek itself apart from everything else. A lot of what is written on the show, all the way back in TOS, into TNG, the movies, DS9, Voyager. I mean, it is such an inspiration to those in the tech community and the scientific community. I mean, there's a reason why we have some of the things we have today. There's a reason why we have iPads. There's a reason why we have phones. There's a reason why we have a lot of tech. And a lot of that, I think, is owed to Star Trek itself. So anyway.
One of the things that we were just talking about, how the Federation changing and all that stuff. One of the things about Star Trek is that it's a hopeful future. And you have this organization called Starfleet that is all these different planets and different cultures coming together, pooling their technologies and their resources to create this future that now we model ourselves after with iPhones and iPads and BioBeds and all this stuff. And so with that change toward that, does Star Trek stop being hopeful? And I'm all for some drama, but it ties it all back into Star Trek being hopeful. And what does the future look like?
I have no problem with the drama. As long as it's a story with a starting point, a story, and an end point. Okay. Right. If they tell a looped story and at the end Starfleet is what it's supposed to be, I'm fine with that. But if they fundamentally change this organization going forward, not really going to be too happy with that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We will see. Anything else in the news?
No, that's it. I mean, Dan kind of leads me to a good segue for one of my questions for the roundtable.
Okay. Well, we got some feedback to do first before we get into that.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's see. What do we got feedback-wise?
Alien Freedom's open.
Yeah, there it is.
Nice.
These are Case knows better than we do. Anyway.
Right.
Oh, well. So I posted in the group that we were gonna be doing this today, and one of the questions we got was, what do you think happened to the old EMH versions that were liberated thanks to the Doctor's Photons Be Free holo novel? That's a great obscure question.
Yeah, it is.
Do we know how many of them there were? Did they ever say?
I don't.
Did they ever put a number on that?
No.
And something's up with Matt's audio. It's like if everybody else is talking, he can't chime in for some reason. But if we're quiet for 2 seconds, he can talk. So Matt, you had something you wanted to say?
Well, that sounds like a joke question, but it really is interesting, especially given the short trek. And did you guys see the short trek? And did you see the small language at the bottom? 3,000 dead in rogue synth attack. Did you guys hear?
No, I didn't watch it.
Yep. Children of Mars, you got to watch that. Oh, go ahead, Matt. Sorry, we cut you off.
Hey, it's an Easter egg for sure. But if you watch the short trek in very small language, and I'm sure you'll pause it anyway, but on CBS it shrinks it down when you pause it, so you have to do something else. You have to screenshot it or something. But anyway, you see it says 3,000 dead in rogue synth attack, and synth, I'm assuming, is synthetic being. I'm assuming that's all those Noonien Sung androids we saw in those closets. But if you think about the AI going rogue, you could absolutely see the holographic people also going rogue with them or allying with them. And then, I don't know, that sounds awesome to me.
Yeah.
Well, it depends, I think, how much reprogramming was done. Because what you have to remember is each one of them is an emergency medical hologram. So they are hardwired to do no harm. So I don't know if they're going to be going rogue and blowing up embassies, and I think they would be more like, hey, let's get out of here. You know, I would think, you know, we know that they have big giant holo ships. They had one in was that Insurrection, where they were going to move the people. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to hear about them, you know, commandeering one of those and just setting a course away. And yeah, I don't know. But as far as them going rogue and killing people, and I don't think we would see EMHs doing that.
No, especially if they're based off the Doctor. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
But my other question would then be, you know, what's the Doctor? What's his relationship to those people? What has he done to liberate his people since coming back from the Delta Quadrant? I would like to see
Emperor Joe.
Emperor Joe.
Emperor Joe.
With a helmet with horns, or
and he starts singing.
Who sings opera? Yeah.
Yeah, he starts singing.
I mean,
opera.
For all we know, he is running the 25th century equivalent of the Underground Railroad, and you know, smuggling these guys out to. I would love to see something like that.
Him and Moriarty.
That would be cool. What's that?
Him and Moriarty.
Him and Moriarty.
Yeah, him and Moriarty.
Oh, no.
Well,
That's
yeah.
funny.
All the other questions kind of fit in the round table, so it's better just to go there.
All right. Well, hold on. I got some emails.
Okay.
So this is from David Schmidt. He says, "Hey, I just listened to the Trekcast episode in which you guys played the game show and felt compared to, and yeah, we got a lot of these.
Yeah, we did.
And felt compared to let you know that Chad is not wrong. He named Aerosmith as a rock band appearing in a comic book fairly dismissed by Dan and Daniel. Don't let them bully you, Chad. You got it right this time." So thank you very much. He even sent a picture of it. That's the one I sent.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Someone else sent one in too. That's the Beatles. So, but anyway, so.
All right, we'll have to play that game again. That seemed pretty popular.
Yeah, we'll have to do that one again. One of the other emails we got was from Gentry Hogan, and he said, "Just didn't want your inbox to feel lonely." He said, "There, now you have an email, and you're wrong. Kai Wynn really was not the sexiest woman in all of Trek." Ouch.
The guy sounds like a jerk.
Gee, I wonder who that is. Anyway,
No idea.
No idea. And then one more that's relevant to today's show. Akil Ahmed, I think that's how you pronounce your name, buddy. Sorry if I screw that up because I'm horrible with names. I was listening to your latest podcast, and it sounded like someone said that the dead cadet's dad was played by John Carroll Lynch, around about the 38-minute mark, but that's wrong. It was Ed Lauder. I checked and confirmed.
This is an old email. We read it back then.
This is, well, you're right. Okay, this is the third or fourth time. Sorry, that's an old email. The one he said.
That's fine. That's fine. We were still wrong about it. So
yeah,
wrong about it.
It was me. I was wrong.
Here's his newer email from January 15th. Another good show. When you were talking about reptilian humanoid species, I was wondering if anyone would mention the Voth from Star Trek Voyager and the Ceruleans from Doctor Who. I don't watch Doctor Who. That's one you should have known. For what it's worth, he didn't even think about the Cardassians either. We had that long conversation about whether the Cardassians are reptilian or not, but there is that.
Ooh, Tusk! I can't believe I didn't think of Tusk.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Something just happened where now I've got massive feedback. Anyway, whatever. No, the game show was great. That was a lot of fun. We should definitely be doing that more often.
Yeah. All right.
Or we could play Cards Against Humanity. That would be fantastic too.
Oh, that would be fun too.
That would be awesome.
It's kind of hard over Skype, but
yeah. Everybody'd have to have a deck or something, but
yeah.
And probably would have to have a lot of disclaimers during the show the whole time. This is not for kids.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. There's a lot of filthy language in that. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, not for kids. There's all this no Santa talk last week.
Oh yeah.
I don't have kids and I don't care at all. But I was a little surprised because I don't know. I just didn't know. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey Matt, with your
slaughtered it.
Hey Matt, with your audio issue, you've got the mic right in front of your mouth. So if you're talking, we can't see your mouth moving. So you may want to put your hand up there. I'm sitting here wondering. Every time I see your head moving, I'm like, is he talking and we're not hearing it? Or...
Yeah.
It's rough. I don't know why it's doing that.
Huh.
Yeah, it's weird. That's our first time getting more than 3 on a Skype. Well, no. Yeah, it is our first time more than getting 3 on a Skype call. So who knows? Could be some weird little thing with that.
It's his badass microphone.
Yeah, he's putting it to shame.
When we do hear you, you sound amazing. Just letting you know.
Thank you. That's
like this piece of garbage.
What was that, Matt?
I said mostly it's this mellifluous voice. I don't know. I can't even say that word. Bad joke timing because the Skype mess up and can't say that word. So there we go.
Yeah.
Mellifluous, right? Mellifluous.
What kind of mic is that, just for the hell of it?
Rode NT1. I as I said, I'm a musician, so I just had a lot of mics around. I also do a little podcasting too, so this is my normal podcast setup here.
Cool.
Right on.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's not a band.
If you're a beginner,
Yeah.
you understand.
Yeah.
Well, should we get to the topic?
Yeah, let's get to the topic.
Yeah, let's go.
Talking
about Star
Trek on this week's topic.
There you go. There
My
you go.
Lord.
All acoustic sound effects today.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so we're doing a Picard roundtable, and we're just gonna, talk about Picard and all that. I guess the first question out the chute: are you excited for Picard?
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Emphatically so. Yes, emphatically.
Excited for Picard that I've been writing, as I said, and this is not like I'm just taking an hour a week. I've been spending like 20 hours a week writing and recording. That's how excited I am. Like
wow.
It hasn't even been a labor. It's been like just digging in and like writing and recording and just like having a blast because I'm just like and watching these old Picard episodes. I have just been like, I'm so excited because the stuff that they're showing in the trailers are all of my favorite Picard stuff. The stuff with Hugh, the stuff with Data, like all that stuff is just, oh man, I'm so pumped.
Awesome.
My probably my all-time favorite Picard quote is the first duty, where he talks about the first duty being to the truth. I've actually used that quote in my real life from time to time, and I'm curious. I'm curious if you've worked that into one of your songs yet.
Did you pay any residuals on that, by the way, every time? Just curious.
Not that in yet. I'm doing specific episodes, and I don't think I haven't covered that episode yet. So like,
okay,
I've covered episodes basically that we've picked on one of my podcasts to cover. We're covering like different episodes that relate to the stuff we're seeing in the trailers, and so we did Data episodes and all the Borg episodes and Hugh episodes, and then I'm writing a song about each one of those. So like I just haven't come across that one, but when I get there, that sounds like exactly the kind of thing I'd like to cover, because I don't like I'm not trying to write about like story songs. I'm not trying to write a silly song about the episode. I'm trying to write like find the emotional core of the episode and write it. It's fun.
Nice. Nice.
That's
nice.
Cool.
I had put up a question or a poll or whatever in the Facebook group here about 2-3 weeks ago about what are your favorite quotes from, or favorite, I guess it'd be the favorite quotes from Picard in general. I got a ton of feedback, and I probably spent about 5 hours, maybe closer to 6, putting together an audio clip of all of Jean-Luc Picard's favorite clips or favorite sayings from all of TNG, including the movies. And it's on the Mac, so I can't play it. So, mother of frickin' pearl. But anyway, I wanted to play it specifically for this show. So, oh well, maybe I'll recover it at some point. Maybe I won't. Who knows?
Well, when you do, you need to play that song, "Return of the Mac." We need to work that in.
Return of the Mac. Yes.
Great song.
That would be great. That would be great. Very well timed, Dan. Very well timed.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It's tough with this, delay.
Yeah.
4 people or 5 people, but I'm working through it.
So
all right.
one of the
go ahead.
questions that we got to about Picard was what do you consider some must-watch episodes or movies before the show starts?
I think you'd have to watch the last movie no matter what.
Yeah.
The last TNG movie, without a doubt, you'd have to see that.
Yeah. The Measure of a Man.
Matt. Yeah.
As little as I want to rewatch that movie, I agree. That movie's probably important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you haven't really like spent any time watching anything, then it would probably be Measure of a Man, All Good Things, and Nemesis in that order.
Yeah.
Because you have time to watch those before Picard airs on Thursday. But
wow, it's Thursday?
Yeah, it's Thursday. Oh, what's up, Matt? Matt's trying to raise his hand.
Yep.
But I don't know. Like I'll just be like doing this, like I'm panicking.
He's joking.
I can't breathe.
911, call somebody.
Yeah,
Where's the EMH?
Borg, and Descent are two probably really important ones because they're about not only about Hugh the character, but also like what individual Borgs can be like, and there's a lot of data stuff in there with data and lore. So Borg and Descent are two really important ones.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
Generations because of the death of Picard's family, and really his like relationship to family is very much explored in that movie, and how he like when he goes into the Nexus, he sees his family around his vineyard, and it's like that's the life he kind of misses that he didn't get, and that I think is for his character is really important.
Yeah. You know what's tough? Trying to rewatch specific episodes in preparation for this. The problem with that is there's a lot of B storylines that deal with the relationship between Picard and Data, or not even B storylines, just where the show opens up with the two of them on the holodeck, and Picard's teaching Data about this aspect of humanity, and it's not really the story of the episode, but it's just a little moment that kind of shows what their relationship is.
I wish that they had given like some sort of like watch these 6 episodes and these 2 movies and get caught up, but at the same time that kind of gives away where the series is going to go. So I could see them not wanting to do that. So
I kind of that kind of brings up a point where I'm a little concerned. This Picard seems like a reward for Star Trek fans. It's like, okay, this is you're the loyal fans, you get all the inside jokes, here's what you're going to get, and you're going to get all these little nuances and everything. Yeah. But in order for a series to survive, they've also got to appeal to new viewers. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of balance that.
That's something that really concerns me all the time with the new Star Trek. And on some of my other podcasts, we talk about it all the time. We talk about the fact that like new Trek is all really aimed at adults, and then they're starting to make these short treks and these cartoon series that are like aimed at children. But like a lot of what built my personality was the fact that my parents sat me down and I had to watch TNG and like had to learn to like think on a level that I understood those stories. And I'm scared for the 6-year-old Matt that exists today, who's never going to be put in front of a Star Trek episode. And then the Star Trek episodes that exist are like Discovery's brutal. Like last season they
can't watch that with my kids. No.
Yep.
No, they held up like an infant head that had been decapitated. Like that's some dark stuff. And so like it used to be Star Trek used to be a show that could be watched by everyone. And now
go ahead. Sorry.
Into 2 or 3 different kinds of Trek instead of being a show that everyone can watch and talk about. And that's a bummer to me.
Darker still. I mean, they have Spock laughing and getting giggly with number 1 in an elevator. So I mean, that's even worse. I mean,
that's horrible.
Yeah, it really made me want to have bearded Spock back. But anyway, go ahead.
Hey Matt, I gotta ask you. You keep talking about these other podcasts. I just have to ask you, who sent you?
Well, there's a reason I haven't been overly like, I'm not trying to promote my own shit on your shit,
No, you're fine.
But yeah, no, I have a podcast network. The biggest podcast is the MCU Cast, Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. We do all the Marvel stuff. But we do have a Star Trek podcast, Star Trek Universe podcast. Since you asked, the Star Trek Universe podcast.
I noticed that he didn't answer the question.
No,
right.
he didn't.
Oh, man.
Diabolical.
Just ready to go.
I'll say Dave from the Star Trek Universe podcast sent me. He told me.
Oh no!
The podcast. Emperor Palpatine of it all. He's back there. Go infiltrate all of the podcasts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the code is I'm gonna bring him into the fold because he is he is here. But that's the test we use to see if somebody actually we haven't brought it up on the show and explained it in a while. But that's the test we use to see if somebody promoting their own stuff in the Facebook group, if they actually listen to the show. The answer is Jordy sent me, but going forward.
Yeah.
I do listen to the show. I do, but I never heard that. Sorry about that.
Well, we've only said that maybe 3 times. That'd probably be the 3rd or 4th time in 2 years, probably on the air. So it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. So we put it in sporadically as a test.
So I do have a question, and I'd love to get predictions on this. How far into the show until we hear Earl Grey Tea hot?
We already got it in a trailer. Go ahead, Matt. You tell him. You have it.
It's Earl Grey decaf in the trailer in the new scene.
That's bullshit.
Yeah,
Earl Grey Tea hot.
I know. Why do they have to change that? Why does he got to have decaf now? Has he got a sensitive stomach? Come on, the man's only 92.
Maybe that was at night.
No, you know what? It's a storytelling thing. He has it with decaf right now because he's not quite up for the challenge, but once he's there, he switches to full caffeinated.
Yeah. It's like it's his spinach. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You kind of, when you talked to me, Daniel, about coming on, you were asking me about, think about some things that you're worried about. Mm-hmm. And with the new Picard show, and what you guys were just talking about kind of leads into one of those where I was thinking, one thing I'm a little concerned about, Star Trek's pretty action driven. I mean, yes, we've got the drama, but there's always action, in every show, every episode, every movie. Mm-hmm. A little concerning to have Sir Patrick doing a whole lot of physical stuff now. I mean, he never was a huge physical character to begin with, but now I'm a little concerned about we're not concerned. I'm just more curious as to where they're going to go with that. Like super aggressive diplomacy, or I don't know what they're going to do.
What's up,
tactical diplomacy?
Well, there's two there's two Picards. There's series Picard and there's movie Picard. And movie Picard kind of became Linda Hamilton, running around in the. No, but I mean, you watch First Contact, and he's running around in his tank top, all sweaty and swinging from cables above the Borg Queen and all that. He didn't do any of that shit in the series. Mm-hmm. He stayed on the ship.
Well, in Nemesis, he gets in the what is that little that doom buggy thing?
Yeah.
That he's driving. He flies out the back of a freaking shuttlecraft. Go ahead, Matt.
Drives me nuts. But that one of the things that worries me about Picard is there is that fencing scene, which I know he fenced in the show, but like 92-year-old fencing Picard versus a guy who if that guy's actually trying to kill him, I will be kind of upset if they let him like win a sword fight at night. I don't know. You know what I mean? No offense to the old folks, but like he's 92. I really don't want to see him swashbuckling.
They got to go Indiana Jones with him and just have him pull out a gun and shoot the guy.
Yeah,
or a phaser.
Exactly. A phaser, yeah. Well, it could be a dream sequence too, because Patrick Stewart has said several times that this is more of a psychological thriller than anything else, and that we've seen so far in Trek. So that's kind of interesting.
And I'm certain this is why they've got a younger cast. They can do all the action. Picard can do the cerebral, and that's the end of it. You
mean Cerebro?
Cerebral, yes. And James McAvoy just sitting there waiting, hoping.
Put me in, coach.
Nerd alert.
Well, Matt's the one who does the MCU podcast. He should have said that first. Go ahead, Matt.
We're not the MCU yet. We're hoping soon. Yeah, it'd be amazing if James McAvoy came and like took over Picard as a younger Picard. Like if they do the Noah Hawley version, they do Picard.
That would be funny. I would be down for that. I would be down for that.
Well, McAvoy's already said he's down to do it.
Yeah, he just wants to be young Patrick Stewart, period. Does that mean he has to go kiss Ian McKellen?
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, it would be Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, Michael Fassbender. Yeah, exactly. That'd be perfect. That would be perfect.
Oh, boy.
So what do you guys think the connection between the Borg and the Romulans is?
I got a pretty complex theory about that, or not.
That's
complex.
what this is all about.
We love those.
Okay, so we think we've got a somehow depowered Romulan empire. So the empire is not what it was, and the empire is it just doesn't have the tactical advantage or the connections for secrecy or spying or whatever that it used to.
That's
So it's the First Order. Got it.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of like now we've got these. They see this opportunity to accumulate this technology and kind of suck it into themselves and use it to their advantage. Because the Romulans, they're the tacticians. They're the ones who are going to be planning 12 steps ahead, making incredible sacrifices to get what the ultimate goal is. So my guess is that they're trying to take old Borg technology, people who were Borg, and maybe reactivate them and make them, their own drones.
They could be the rogue synths too, for all we know. But the other thing I thought they've said several times now that the Romulans look different than the last time we saw them in Nemesis, and they look different for a reason.
Oh, please don't let them be Discovery Klingons.
Well, no, they look like that young Romulan that Picard is fencing, and the eyebrows are all of a sudden almost pointing straight up. They've got sleeker, thinner looks. I mean, they look like Legolas from Middle Earth. But anyway.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, but they have changed the way that the Romulans look, and they've done it on purpose. There is a reason for it, and maybe you're onto something there, Gentry, with the introduction of Borg nanites into their systems. Maybe they've altered themselves. There has been a little bit of time since the supposed supernova that destroyed Romulus and everything else, or a bunch of their planets anyway. So, maybe they've done some genetic altercations somehow, which that makes perfect sense. I'm fine with the Romulans looking a little different as long as they don't all of a sudden look like Andorians,
Yeah.
Right.
I think they're probably resenting the Vulcans. They look just like Vulcans. They probably resent the Vulcans over the loss of Romulus, the same way Nero resented Spock personally. And I think I don't know. I wouldn't cut my hair the same way as the people who destroyed my planet, in my opinion. So where towards the end of TNG we were watching this reunification starting to happen, I think we may be watching the opposite of that. I mean, they did talk about this having a Brexit type storyline attached to it, and maybe we don't know what's happened in the last 10 years in this timeline. We don't know how far along that reunification went and then made an about face.
Well, it's 20 years since Nemesis. Nemesis was how many years after All Good Things?
Yeah, but the beginning of Star Trek 09 was 11 years ago. So what I'm saying is after the destruction, we don't know what happened as far as reunification efforts. We don't know what happened between leading up to 09, and then we don't know what happened between 09 and in the last 25 years of that timeline, we got a 12-minute narration from Spock, and that's all we know.
Yeah. Well, if they're going to model it after what's going on currently politically with Brexit, then that means they're still about a fourth of the way through it. So
there you go.
So I got an odd question for you.
Yeah.
We love those.
Okay, make a prediction. At any point during the Picard series, will Q show up?
Ooh.
Yes, but not in season 1.
Matt, you're saying yes, but not season 1?
I think they're gonna focus on a smaller story, but I feel like if you're gonna have a Picard show, and they talk about in All Good Things, he talks about the test is never over. I think, like in season 3, it could be the final thing. It's the first thing we see Picard go through. I think it could be the last thing we see Picard go through.
That makes sense.
But here's my question: do they get a new Q?
You can't.
You shouldn't.
You should.
If you're gonna bring him in, you should.
Doesn't
have
mean
Q,
they
period.
wouldn't. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know, Q's age really doesn't make a difference because in reality, Q does not look like John Delancey. Q looks like a ball of light.
Right.
He only portrays himself that way when he's dealing with humans. So I would imagine that's the form that he selected when he first met Jean-Luc Picard, and he selected a Caucasian male human of approximately 45 years old because I'm going to be speaking with a Caucasian male human of approximately 45 years old. And 2 years later, when he saw him again, he was 46. You know, so I think, you know, if Picard lives to 200 and Q pops in, he's going to look like a 200-year-old white male Caucasian.
And the last episode of season 3 or whatever, we get Q looks at Picard and says, "You've passed the test," snaps his finger, and he becomes James McAvoy.
That's right.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would think you'd have to at some point bring Q back in during somewhere in the season run. Obviously, I don't think it would be in the first season. I wouldn't want it to be in the first season of Picard, but you have to bring Q in at some point, even if it's in a short trek in the middle of seasons, you know.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Just as a little 15-minute deal on an aside, somewhere between everything that's going on with Picard. That'd probably be the easier way to do it. Still, you get that interaction between the two of them, but it doesn't involve or interfere with whatever.
I would
Picard's
much rather
doing.
just have a one-off Q episode. Like, you know, every now and then in a series, they have that one-off episode that has nothing to do with anything.
Yep.
Just do that. Let go balls to the wall with Q and have fun. What's up, Dan?
So if we did see Q, what would you want to see from his relationship with Picard? I mean, are they friends? Are they still adversaries? Are they adversaries with a mutual respect? Does Picard still think of him as an annoyance and wish he was gone?
This is going to sound really bad, but you remember from the story from Harry Potter with the invisibility cloak and the guy hides from death, and then eventually they greet each other as equals at the end. That'd be kind.
Never seen Harry Potter.
Me either.
I have. I know what he's talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chad's with you.
Yeah, the guy has a cloak of invisibility, and he hides from death for many, 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 many years, and death looks for him, can't find him. Finally comes to the end, and instead of being greeted as enemies, they're greeted as friends and equals, and that'd be kind of nice to see, you know, Q kind of respect Picard at the end.
That's why it would be nice. Oh, go ahead, Matt. Sorry,
I totally agree. That sounds really beautiful. But also, we already know in All Good Things, Q still has his personality and is an annoyance. But in All Good Things, supposedly, Q did not cause any of that. Q actually came and helped them. Q shows up and helps them get through All Good Things. So I think in All Good Things, he's already turned that corner to where he's no longer really an adversary. He is just helping Picard out in a trickster way, but he is there to help in All Good Things.
And another point too, where we see Q change, and I just watched this episode the other night, the Q in the Gray, where he has a child, not with Jane.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
But with the other woman, Q. And all of a sudden he's, you know, a cuddly, warm father. I'd like to see him show up on Picard or a short trek, whatever, with his son grown up a little bit, and his son played by Wil Wheaton.
Yes. Love it.
Did you see that Wil Wheaton's getting an after show?
I did. He's going to do the
good.
after show because the one they were doing before sucked and nobody watched it and they botched it so bad. So now they're going to try it again with Will. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I think after shows that are on the network they're on is impossible to do right because you can't criticize. What you guys do is exactly what you have to be able to say. Discovery sucks sometimes, and you have to be able to. You also don't want to make a show that's just trolling the show you're watching. You want to make a show that's about the love of the thing, but you can't make a show where you can't criticize it. It comes as Talking Dead is the worst trash because they'll have the worst episode of Walking Dead. I still like Walking Dead, but it'll have awful episodes, and then they'll come on and be like, "Can you believe it? It's an amazing episode," and everyone's like, no.
Yeah, it's a commercial for the show after the show.
Yeah, Chris Hardwick's there for the money. And I would be too if I was him, so I can't really trash him too much.
It's really funny that Chris Hardwick and Wil Wheaton, I think they were college roommates. Huh? So Chris Hardwick,
something like that, yeah.
Chris Hardwick, who like invented this whole thing of after shows, really, like at least on the network, and then they're gonna do one with Wil Wheaton, his college roommate, who they're real good friends. And he's gonna be doing the Trek one. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Hardwick got his start with the Nerdist podcast that came out a long time ago, and I've listened to that ever since.
He was on Shipmates.
That's right, he was. Yeah. So, man's been around doing it for a long time.
And
all right, so I do have another question.
Okay, Matt was trying to say something there.
Oh yeah.
I've been a weird fan of his in 3 different ways. I liked Singled Out when I was a kid, because I liked Jenny McCarthy. And then when I was a little older, I found his Hard and Firm band. And then years later, I found the Nerdist podcast, and then I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, that's the same guy on all 3 things. Like, this guy has been in my mind for 30 years, like, or 20, whatever. Anyway.
So it was recently announced that we're going to get 2 other live-action Star Trek shows on top of Picard, Discovery, and the Section 31 show. So 2 other shows on top of those 3. So the question is, what are they going to be about, guys? What do you want them to be about? What are you hoping for?
Well, they copyrighted Star Trek Destiny.
Mm-hmm. Some people think that might be the next online game.
So see it being the Pike show, Destiny, because he already knows his end. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
want a Pike show so bad.
I don't want a Pike show.
I do. I like Anson Mount.
I hate prequels. I hate the idea of sticking more shows in the middle. I've already said it, but I really love Anson Mount as Pike. And there's a lot of story there we don't know. We know how his story ends, but we could have a whole story about the rest of his crew that we don't know. I guess they're stuck in there too. It would be really dicey, but I do love Anson Mount as Pike.
I'm down for Dr. Joe and the underground maglev train.
The problem with doing the prequel, if they were going to do a Pike show, Enterprise didn't do that great as a show, and I think part of the problem, they're using pre-technology or pre-Star Trek stuff that we were used to, that level of technology, and then they had to go backwards with it. And I don't think that translated very well. And if they're going to do a Pike show and stay true to it, they'd have to do the same thing. They'd have to, undo a lot of the technology we're used to.
They've already shown with Discovery they don't really care about sticking to the truth of the technology, though.
Drone fighters.
How have we never in all of Star Trek, and then they make a prequel where that's all they do? Oh man, that.
Yeah.
They're even doing that in the animated stuff in the short treks where there's this little robot going around. I mean, I think.
Astromechs, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a sign. Oh, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Personality. That got little robot had a lot of personality. It's like when I thought Data was kind of special in that he's trying to achieve emotions and personality, and they gave this little robot so much personality in that short trek. That short trek pissed me off a lot. It explodes and it's the Enterprise A. It was the Enterprise before, and they zoom in on the Enterprise A as it explodes. They change ships without change, and they had it die in the wrong battle. Pissed me off, man. Really mad about it.
That was all to show that the beautiful, cute little tardigrades travel all across space and time, and probably dimensionally as well, and so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it was kind of a cluster.
The battle where the Klingons destroyed the Enterprise, the original Enterprise, and then it was the Enterprise A written on the hull as it exploded.
Yeah.
Really upsetting.
Yeah.
I think you guys might have to have a new thing. Welcome to Star Trek Rant. Where we're
It happens.
Well, it's going to be called Bitchcast is what it's going to be called.
That's it, Bitchcast.
Perfect.
Who you calling bitch?
So I do have one last question for everybody.
Sure.
And I want to know, Will we find out if Harry Kim has been promoted or not?
Harry Kim's dead. He died with Geordi on the Mars Plantation when the rogue sense attacked. That's my prediction.
He was eaten by a tardigrade.
Yeah.
Probably okay with an off-screen death for Harry Kim. I'm not okay with an off-screen death for Geordi, though. I just love Geordi.
No.
God, I hope he didn't die. That would suck.
Yeah.
So what year did the last episode of Voyager take place in? How far in the future was that?
Was it further along than Nemesis or not?
It must have been, because they were wearing the All Good Things uniforms.
Yeah.
So how long had they been home? 20 years?
That was a timeline that was erased, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kind of using that as a guide.
Years, because some of them had grown kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he was a captain at that point.
Mm-hmm.
When did that show go off the air? That was
99.
No, was it?
It's a little later than that. I think it's like 2003 or so, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I
it's
think
been
Matt's looking it up.
17 years since the show went off the air. So he's
2001.
2001. Okay.
Okay.
okay. So it's been 19 years since the show went off the air. So yeah, maybe he's a captain. Who knows? Who cares?
I care more about a tribute for Nog and Odo more than I care about Harry Kim's rank.
Absolutely with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Harry Kim's the character we love to hate.
I got one another concern that you had mentioned, or that you came up just a second ago. We were talking about the Borg. What is it? Q says, "Don't provoke the Borg." I feel like for Picard, it needs to be, "Don't overpower the Borg."
Mm-hmm.
It's just gnawing at me a little bit. It's like, okay, we're gonna have Borg back, but it's like, okay, but they've already been completely defeated by Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
So what now?
My theory with the Borg now, where they are now, based on what we see with Hugh and 7 of 9 in the trailers, I don't think the Borg are an antagonist in this series. I think the Borg are refugees. I think they were defeated by their neural links were defeated by Voyager. Now there's just these Borg, and I think it'd be really interesting if we have a different kind of Borg, and maybe even a Borg that's like voluntary or something, because the Borg really believe in the a lot of them believe in the lack of individuality. I don't know. I think they're going to go with a completely different way with the Borg, and I think the Federation are going to mistrust the Borg and want to destroy the Borg, even though the Borg aren't doing anything wrong anymore. Like, I don't know. I think they could be refugees.
It looks like the Romulans have control of a Borg cube.
Right.
In the trailers, and you can get that little sign that says, so many days since an assimilation. So if the Borg are still around in that fashion, then maybe it's more of a case where there's a lot of different Borg, quote unquote, factions. They're not really factions, but there's just this cube and a small collective that's over here that's separate from the small collective that's over here because they're disjointed now. And that's,
I think it's like a wild animal. Like, you may have that tiger in a cage, but the minute you let your guard down, that tiger's going to attack. Yeah. Same thing with the Borg. Oh,
I mean, if this is the aftermath of some sort of war with the Borg, whether that war was Janeway and Voyager destroying them in the last episode, or if there was some other battle after that we don't know about yet. I mean, if you look at just real life, when a government falls sometimes after a war, the victor doesn't always swoop in right away and restore order. You have little factions that pop up, and warlords and people who have their own agenda, and that could be what's going on with the collective. It is still a threat. It's a threat because instead of one entity with one mind and one goal, now they have to deal with 250 different smaller Borg collectives, each with their own agenda.
Yeah.
One cube is enough.
Yeah.
No,
that makes sense.
I always want a show to have characters that are not mustache twirling villains, that have depth and have reasons for what they're doing. And the Borg, while they're interesting and they function as a good villain, they're the same as zombies.
They are zombies.
So, yeah, they're zombies. They're the bad guys. You don't have to feel bad about killing. They just want to turn you into them, and they just do their thing. So I think they functioned well for that for a while, but I don't think they function as that anymore because they're not threatening anymore because Voyager kind of overdid them. So I think they need to change, and I love the idea of different cubes or even different small collectives having different motivations, just like all of the other races in Star Trek have different motivations. And maybe they are individuals. Maybe there's small cubes that function as an individual. This one cube has one mind, but it's not trying to take over the universe. It's just doing its thing or whatever. I don't know.
I really like the aspect of the refugee part of it because that would make a lot of sense as to why Hugh was involved, why Picard is now getting involved with this kind of humanitarian issue. I think that's a pretty good theory. It seems pretty rational.
Yeah, we don't even know who the girl is yet. Go ahead, Matt.
Just saying that also ties really into of what's going on in the world today, and like sort of xenophobia that's sort of popping up all over the world, and like them trying to make a story where maybe we should try to be empathetic toward people, even if they've hurt us in the past, like. And maybe have a balance where that story is like maybe it doesn't always work out. Maybe you show empathy and then they hurt you, but it's still the right thing to do to show empathy to other races. That's what Star Trek's all about: seeing other beings through a lens where they are a being that it has depth and is not just a monolith. I guess at least ever since the Klingons stopped being bad guys.
Well, the best villains that you can really have in any situation is a villain that you actually identify with, and a villain that you can at times actually side with, and a villain that you can't really tell sometimes if he really is a bad guy or not. Those are your best villains. Killmonger in Black Panther is probably one of my recent favorite villains.
Khan.
Well, yeah.
I mean, he's just trying to protect his people.
Yeah, but he's such a slippery little shit that and I'm not a big Benedict Cumberbatch fan anyway.
Leather. Come on, man.
I know, but no, Killmonger himself. I mean, you can identify with his position instantly. And there's a lot of things that he says that is kind of like, yeah, is he really the bad guy here? And those are the best villains.
Well, that's evidenced. That's evidenced by the fact that at the end of that movie, T'Challa completely does a 180 on his. His stance with Wakanda's relationship with the rest of the world.
Yeah. Exactly. Go ahead, Matt.
Talking in MCU, and now I can talk about this stuff. I love Killmonger, and I also love. There's a lot of really great villains. Kingpin is also another one where, even though he's a vicious, horrible person in the Netflix series, you also see that he's actually trying to do what's best from his perspective. He's trying to save the city through brutal means. He's just a different tactic than Daredevil. And then you've got like Punisher, who like you have to balance. Like he's basically the same thing. So what makes them different? Is it willingness to kill innocents? If you kill one innocent, is it worth saving 100,000 innocents? I love those sort of moral questions, so that's why I don't really care for those zombie storylines where you can just mow down armies. It's fun for the spectacle, but it's not morally interesting, and I want Star Trek to be morally interesting.
Yep, definitely.
Right on.
All right, let's see, there was one more thing. Oh yeah, please, I love cameos. Please don't oversaturate them in the first episode. Please spread them out. They're like crack, don't just be OD on the first one.
Is there anyone you want to see that they haven't announced yet?
Oh, you got to have Beverly Crusher in there somewhere. They haven't announced her.
Yeah.
You got to have Worf in there somewhere if you can. I mean, but Worf's got to look like Worf.
Yeah.
I want new Worf.
I don't want new Worf.
I want new.
I want to see
the
Mott.
outrage. You want Spot?
No, Mott.
Oh, Mott, yeah.
The barber on the Enterprise D.
Yeah, that's right.
They've said on multiple occasions he's the best barber in Starfleet. So, he had to land somewhere.
I'd love to see. Go ahead.
But Picard doesn't have hair. So
It's got a
Riker
little
does,
on the
though.
side in the back. You know, he gets a shave. He gets a shave twice a week.
He's got the dog. The dog needs to be groomed.
That's true.
In the trailers, it looks like Riker needs a haircut. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh my God, the funniest meme I saw was a picture of Riker, and it's like it said something like, is he the first officer of the Enterprise, or is he about to introduce us to Jurassic Park?
one that I want to see is Geordi.
Yeah.
Geordi was literally my entrance into Star Trek. The relationship between Geordi and Data is my entrance to Star Trek, and I love Geordi. I think he is also one of the best actors. I can even see a Star Trek Geordi, Star Trek LaForge show. Like, I'd love to see more Geordi.
Yeah.
This is gonna be unpopular, but a cameo I actually think that would be really cool would be Wesley Crusher.
I agree.
Have him pop in as his, aged self in doing all of the weird ethereal things that he does. That'd be pretty interesting to see what happens with that.
Or if he better knows Q, like bring him in on the Q episode, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know this guy." Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave him
We
alone,
definitely
Q.
We definitely have to know what happens with him and the Traveler. I mean, you have to know that at some
Yeah.
point. Yeah, I actually like in canon on a show, not just in a
Yeah.
book somewhere.
Will Crusher, or I'm sorry, Wesley Crusher. I almost called him Will because Wil Wheaton. People hate on Wesley Crusher, but I think they hate on him not because I actually really enjoy a lot of his storylines. I like his stuff with the Traveler. It's the problem with Wesley Crusher is that in the first season they tried to make him the star of the show. They tried. If you watch the first season, one of the reasons the first season is so bad, he is the hero of like 50% of the episodes. He's always the kid going. They tried to make Star Trek a kids show. You never needed a kid on the Enterprise to make it a kids like okay for kids. You know what I mean? As a 6-year-old, I connected more with Geordi and Data than I did Wesley, because Wesley was just kind of this annoying kid. I wanted to aspire to be like these people. I didn't want myself as the hero. You know what I mean? And I think that's why Wesley is so hated. But I think I would love to see him back.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so what do we think the significance in all these trailers is of the young girl? Because we've gotten all this way through this with all of our speculations and thoughts, and yet a lot of the show sure looks like it's going to center around her. That's the mission. Picard's mission is her, it seems like, protecting her. Now, who the hell is she? Is she a Borg? Is she a Borg queen? Is she a Borg Romulan hybrid?
I think she's a new type of Borg queen.
I think she's daughter of Shinzon.
Oh,
good.
that's a good call.
Which would,
Wasn't there a rumor going around that she was going to be Picard's daughter somehow? I mean, I don't buy that, but I remember somebody was talking about that.
I'm sure that was floated somewhere. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: if she's Shinzon's daughter, is she Picard's daughter?
Oh.
Or his niece.
Genetically speaking.
She is, right? And so like that would be the
Well, no, she wouldn't. She wouldn't, because two identical twins have identical DNA. So your brother's daughter is not your daughter if you have a twin brother. So all right, I take it back. Never mind.
Yeah, but he would feel like it. He would feel like it was.
Yes.
Definitely.
He's constantly wanting to adopt kids. There was that boy too that was his son.
Yeah. Rock climbing.
Yeah. See, rock climbing.
Yep, rock
what he
climbing.
does.
There it is. Yep. What if it is his daughter, and it's like his actual daughter, not like a clone or something else, and it's his and Beverly's kid?
Ooh.
Mm.
Does that work or does that not work? Go ahead, Matt.
young to be that, but it is the future.
Right.
What they've done with reproductive technology. We know they can live longer.
You know, I don't think they would make it his natural daughter, because that's too easy. He seems to have this protective feeling over her that they're projecting, at least in the trailers, that seems more of a I have to protect this innocent, not I have to protect my child kind of a thing.
Well, maybe she's Data's daughter.
Yeah, I thought about that for a while.
At the very end, someone goes, "What's your last name?" And it's that lady going, "Picard."
Daughter is the idea that if they make 3 seasons with Picard, I think he's signed on for 3 seasons, which he's up there, so he probably shouldn't sign on for more. If he's signed on for 3 seasons and we do find out somewhere in season 1 that she's somehow a Picard, either daughter of Shinzon, a clone, whatever, she's somehow a Picard. If this show is successful, they can continue it with the name Picard as her with her in leadership, and I think that is an interesting theory, at least from a production standpoint, of why they might make her related to him.
Maybe season 4 is entitled Rise of Picard.
So, I know this is kind of a morbid thought, but he is 92 years old. Do you think they have pre-filmed escape hatches for him? Should he drop dead halfway through filming the second season?
If
do you
they
think
they've
already?
They should. That's why they already greenlit season 2.
Yeah. I mean, the big hatch is James McAvoy. So,
that's true.
Yeah,
this is true.
You just won't let that go,
actually.
Huh? He's never gonna let that go. No.
Yeah.
Well,
push that theory every time we can.
Yeah. Birds aren't real.
No, they're not. Birds are not real. Well, is that it?
I think that's it for now. We only got 4 more days until we get the actual first episode, in which the 3 of us anyway will be back on to dissect the living crap out of it.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I should have my new computer by then. I'm excited.
Nice. Now
Return of the Mac once again. Return of the Mac.
I don't know what we're gonna do here with this end of it, but yeah.
Okay, I got one more question.
Sure.
Very quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this ship that they apparently are all existing on, do we think that this is going to be like an iconic ship, like the Enterprise, the Millennium Falcon, or is this going to be like a throwaway? Because it seems like they were kind of concentrating this on this one new family of a ship. You know, he has to find his new number one. He has to find all these other things. What do you guys think about that?
It's an
Uber. He goes back and gets his. Yeah, it's an Uber. He goes back and gets his old number one from the Enterprise J or whatever the hell the model is, because in the comics leading up to this, which they've said is canon, he is on the Enterprise and his number one is the lady from the show.
I didn't catch that was her. She looks so much different. It's however many years later. I didn't catch the comic. I read the first 2 books and I didn't realize that was her. That's cool.
Yep, that's her. So I mean, he goes back and gets his old number one. So I think it's more about the characters and the family than it is about the ship, which is why we haven't seen what the outside of the ship looks like yet. I don't think they care.
Good point.
They don't care. So
this is Star Trek. We have little models of every ship ever on screen. So no matter what ship they have, it will be iconic. Like it just it can't.
It's a garbage scow. Yeah.
Reproduce garbage scowl ever, if it were, like if they fight on for 3 seasons or like live on for 3 seasons, it will be in every store. You know what I mean? It's going to be
with photon torpedoes, right?
Yeah. They'll make toys. It's fine.
All I know is if there's a little black trapezoidal looking droid on 4 wheels that's going around in the background somewhere, I'm going to get pissed. All right, that sounds like it, guys.
Yeah. Well, guys.
This driveway isn't going to shovel itself, so.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
Do a little plug for my album coming out?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for having me on. For real, I really enjoy listening to the show, and thanks for having me. But my band that is putting out all this nerd music that it's brand new. We made one Star Wars song a couple years ago as a parody song. But now we're like diving in fully with these 2 albums, one pre-Picard, one we're going to make as Picard comes out. And the band is called The Garage. And you can find us on all the social medias at The Garage Songs. So The Garage, it's actually the first song from the album is called Just a Drone. It's on Spotify and Apple and Google and all that already. But the other ones I'm going to be dropping weekly as I record them. So it should be really fun because before each episode of Picard comes out, I should be able to post a song about the previous episode of Picard. And I'm going to be making 2 podcasts that are going to relate to this. And it's going to be the Matthew Carroll podcast, which is more about the music of making it. And as I mentioned earlier, the Star Trek Universe podcast, we're talking about Star Trek, but at the end of each episode about the Picard episodes, we're going to drop the new song. So it's going to be a crazy amount of work. There's no money in it. The only thing I'm trying to do is share it with people. And I just really, really am so excited about Picard that I can't help what I do with my artistic expression is write songs. And I have not been able to help myself. The first one that I think you're going to play at the end of this episode, it's a different one maybe than I sent you because I think your fan base might like it more. It's about Data, and it's just an anthemic. It's the first one I wrote, and it is he just can't help. It's about Measure of a Man, and it's I literally watched that episode and I couldn't stop. I couldn't help myself but write this song. I was like, I have to. It was the chorus came out of me, and it's an anthemic thing about Data and him believing that he owns himself, and I love it. I'm having a blast. So if you can follow all those places at The Garage on whatever social media you do, or Star Trek Universe podcast or Matthew Carroll podcast, those are where you find it. Thank you for letting me do that. Appreciate it.
Of course, man. Yeah,
this is really fun.
And now I think he's contractually obligated to have the 3 of you on his podcast now.
Couldn't hear you, Matt.
I said for sure. You guys come on anytime. And our Star Trek podcast is we've been around about a year. It's real tiny. We're not a big deal at all. But we're just having fun. But I do have a couple of other podcasts that are big, and you guys can come on anytime you want, or come stuff, whatever you want to do. It'd be great.
Yeah, do some ad swapping back and forth between one another. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you guys, this just meant the world to me to be able to come on and talk about this, because I don't have any real Trekkies in my family. I have maybe one person at work I can talk to about it, and then it's I'm going on Trekcast. Okay, I have 4. I'm married. I have 4 kids. We have 4 dogs and 4 cats, and I'm like, everybody's going to leave me alone. I'm going to go do this. This is important. So thank you so much for having me on.
He's dying to tell somebody he's going on Trekcast, but he can't think of anybody who would care to hear it. I'm going on Trekcast. That's awesome. What the hell is Trekcast?
Anybody that I end up talking to about Trek or anything Trek related or their podcast, I get the same responses I do from one of my sales guys at work, Mike Snook. And he always looks at me and goes, "You mean you travel the galaxy? That's how you know everything." Shut up, Mike. Shut up.
What's his name? Mike what?
Snook.
Mike Snoke?
That's right.
Yeah. He's got a YouTube channel that's all about the Snook, and it's just it's hysterical, but it's awful. But anyway.
Oh man.
No, I don't have anybody to talk to about it either, Case. So glad you could come on and talk with us, man. It's awesome. Thanks for your support too.
Matt wants to say one more.
Yeah.
This kind of podcasts are great for, aren't they? I listen to you guys because literally I listened to you guys for years because Trekcast has been in my queue for a long time because I didn't have anybody to talk to about Star Trek. It's great. It really serves a huge purpose in my life. As I got older and my friends moved and I didn't talk on the phone like I used to because of families and all this stuff, it's just having that having a conversation about Star Trek in my ears. So I appreciate what you guys do.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
We have a lot of fun. As one of our listeners said, we are just 3 guys who get together and talk about anything and everything, and Trek holds it together.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a perfect synopsis for the show.
That is. That is. Well, on that note, thanks everybody for listening.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, guys. We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon. Take care.
Well, there you have it. Another episode in the can. Check us out at trekcast.com. Also, if you would, please subscribe to us via iTunes. Leave those reviews, subscribe to us, we'll get some numbers, get up the list, get more listeners, do more shows, have more fun. But for now, we're all done. So live long and prosper, and we'll see you next week.
I'm a metal man with a positronic brain, but you don't own me. No! You don't own me. I'm a metal man with a positronic brain, but you don't own me. No! You don't own me. This man wants to take me apart. He says because I don't have a heart, I can't take a stand. But I think I can. I have served this ship for many years because I believed in what we'd achieve. We'd find new life and we would recognize it when we do. But then what did you do? I'm a metal man with a positronic brain, but you don't own me. No! You don't own me. I'm a metal man with a positronic brain, but you don't own me. No! You don't own me. I can't believe I stand on trial. Not because my actions are vile, but because you can't see all I am. I know what it is to long and lose. Yeah, I've known love, a fully functional love. I'm a metal man with a positronic brain, but you don't own me. No! You don't own me. I'm a metal man with a positronic brain, but you don't own me. No! You don't own me. There will be more like me, a perpetual slavery, unless we stand, me and my friends, and defend new life. It's different from your life, but I just want to choose